classified evaluation system for 2018-19, a classified employee is considered a non-certified employee. So that would be someone such as myself, such as you guys. It would also be, except if you're a principal or vice principal, it would also be in your schools, it would be your paraprofessionals, it would be your custodial staff, it would be your secretaries, your nurses, it would also be your security staff. Those are all considered your non-certified staff that are under this classified evaluation. And I, by no means, named everybody that's under the classified evaluation. If you are here, it is because you are over somebody, and so you will be evaluating them using the classified evaluation. For Becky and I, and so Becky, if you would stand up so that they can put a face and a name together in case they don't know you. On my end of what I do with the classified evaluation is I am on my learning plan side where I look, I make sure that you have all your pieces input into the system and that it's done correctly. Becky also helps me in the fact that she is the administrator in charge of my learning plan. So when you have trouble logging in or when there's some glitches with the system, Becky's on that back end. And so a lot of times if you email me and say, I can't log in or I can't get in or I don't see my people that I evaluate, you'll notice that I will say, I'm going to tag Becky Nace in this email because Becky is on the back end and can correct those errors that we have. And so with that being said, the next piece, we know that there have been a lot of changes to your rosters and who you evaluate this year. We need those changes so that we can get them into the system. So if you could make sure that you either write them down now and give them to us or email them and make sure that Monica Landis and Becky Nace both get that, that will help us make those changes. It is not a small task to make all the changes because on top of all of our classified, we are also changing out our certified staff, so our teachers as well. So it will take a while.
If you could please, when you email us, if you will just tell me the people that need to go off and anybody new that needs to come on. A lot of people have been sending their entire rosters, and that's just really time consuming to figure out who's still on there and who's off. So if you could just send me anybody that needs to be removed from your roster, their first and last name, and then any new employee that needs to go on, that would kind of expedite the whole process.
All right, so let's get started. Board Policy 4.2 states that every employee on an annual basis should receive an evaluation. So the three pieces that I really want to point out in this paragraph is that the evaluation should point out an employee's strengths, it should point out an employee's areas of needs of an improvement, and it should be done in a collaborative manner to determine measures that will drive improvement. Our evaluation system is really about improving an employee and showing growth so that ultimately the efforts of our employees will help increase our performance in the Kansas City Public Schools. There's 8 standards under the classified evaluation system. The first one is job knowledge. This is basically, does the employee have the knowledge adequate to perform the job? Do they know what it takes, the skills, the resources required for that job? Organization, are they able to handle, multitask and handle what they need to do to be effective? Productivity, what kind of work are they producing in order to move in their job? Initiative, do they take the initiative? Do they have follow through? Communication, this refers to verbal and written communication. Teamwork, are they team players? Do they work cooperatively towards those district goals? Safety, do they follow those safety rules and regulations? Think about safety also. Are they completing the safety that we put on? Are they going through all those trainings that we have? And attendance. Not only do they show up for work every day, are they on time? And are they working their full day and making sure they get in their time? There's 3 pieces to the evaluation for a classified employee. The first piece is the pre-evaluation conference review. The second is the summative evaluation. And the third is the goal form. The first piece we're going to talk about is this pre-evaluation conference review. This is completed by you, the evaluator. Here's the parts that I want to make sure we understand because it's broken down into 3 pieces. If you have a brand new employee to your department, you are to evaluate them using this form 30 days after their initial hire date. For us using the classified, I know we hire people all throughout the year, so this is really important. So if you've hired somebody that started possibly in August, you should be looking at doing a 30-day pre-evaluation review with them about the middle of September to end of September. A 60-day review, this is conducted for 60 days after their hire date. It is also for anybody that is new to your department or your building. For example, if you had a nurse that was at Longfellow last year and has now moved to Garcia, they would be considered new to Garcia, so that they would get a 60-day review. So you also would do a 30-day review on a new employee, but then again in 60 days, you're going to do this same review again on them. The reason we do this, we want to ensure that our new employees know how they are performing in our evaluation process. We don't want any surprises to come up, especially if there are areas that they really do need to improve in order to continue with employment in our district. If you have employees that are returning employees to your building or to the district, to your department, then you simply, before December, before you leave on Christmas break, you're going to want to conduct this pre-evaluation conference and review. So you can start November on working towards this pre-evaluation conference review with your employees. The summative evaluation, it's completed at the end of the year if you have 10.5-month employees. So those would be more of the employees that are in your building, such as our nurses or our paraprofessionals. That has to be completed by May 10th. And then our employees that are our 12-month employees, June 14th. The reason that we want these completed by June 14th, if you're a 12-month employee, in our My Learning Plan, in our system online that we use, there's a point where we have to roll over our data into the new year. There's also a point where in our system where our Alio system talks with My Learning Plan, and when we roll our employees that are no longer with us, we lose those people in My Learning Plan. So it's very, very important that you get those evaluations completed by June 14th so that we don't lose any of our employees in the rollover system. I'm also going to tell you, if you know that there is an employee that is not returning, we still need to complete an evaluation on them. So if you know they're not returning, I would suggest you get those completed like ASAP. Get those one of the first ones that you complete. The goal form, it will be completed by the employee and it will be due with the summative. And I'll share an example of a goal form with you. So we're going to dig into that pre-evaluation conference so you understand. This is the evaluation, and it's conducted as an initial assessment over all 8 standards. We've had our employees say, I didn't know I was going to be evaluated over all 8 standards. So by using this pre-evaluation form, you're going through and marking all 8 standards on where that employee is at this moment in time. You're going to mark them on either a meets expectation, a growth opportunity, or an area of concern for each standard. So you might look at standard 1 on job knowledge, and you have to look to see, is this employee meeting the expectation? If you check this box, you're saying that that employee at this time is meeting the expectation for the district. If you check it, you're saying at this time that employee really is looking at a proficient or a distinguished rating. A growth opportunity, by checking this box, you're simply saying they're meeting the expectation, but there's still an area that they could grow in. We all know we have areas of growth opportunity. So growth opportunity is not considered an area of concern or something that we need to worry about. It would also mean if you checked a growth opportunity, you're really considering this employee to be at the developing level. An area of concern, if you check this area of concern, you're saying that growth is absolutely necessary and required for that employee to remain employed by our district, and that it would be considered a needs improvement or even an unsatisfactory at that time. So just to let you understand, if you have, let's go back and think about this. If you have a new employee that you've hired, I've told you that you have to evaluate them 30 days after the initial hire date, and then I've told you you have to evaluate them again using this form 60 days. In my learning plan, we've only added 1 pre-evaluation form. But there is a way for you to add another form. So this is the piece where if you've gone through the training before, I'm now going to show you how to add that next form. So if you look on here, you'll notice the classified pre-evaluation conference, this little gray gear over here. You click that. This box will pop up. It will have a 1. Simply change it to a 2 and click submit, and a new pre-evaluation form will come up. And that will give you your second pre-evaluation form. Okay? "90-day probation period for new employees." So during that 90-day probationary period, that plan is not required for new employees, but I will tell you, after 90 days, there must be steps followed in order to release an employee. And I'm going to tell you, you must contact the employee relations in the Human Resources Department to ask for further assistance. They will have forms and steps that you need to follow in order to release that employee. At any time you are having problems with an employee, please contact employee relations and keep them up to speed on what is going on and any help that you might need in working with them. The more informed they are, the more support that they can give you. And one piece I do want to go back on, at any time you mark a growth opportunity and even an area of concern, but especially an area of concern on this pre-evaluation form, you must use that comment box and you must give supporting evidence as to why you are marking them with an area of concern and even with a growth opportunity. The more documentation that we have on our end, if an employee would ever come back and have questions, then the more support we can give you as to why they were marked that way and as to what is following in the next procedures with them.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Who's the person in HR you said?
Employee relations, which is Marilyn Overton, and would actually be Tyler Morgan as well. We do have a professional growth plan for our classified staff. We have a professional growth plan for our certified staff, and we have one for our classified as well. So this is just an example of what our employee relations might help you work through with our classified staff. You can see that it would show the performance concerns. You want to be very specific. The steps needed for improvement. You have to have a timeline and any support required. So now we're on to the second component that I was talking about. We've talked about the pre-evaluation conference, which is due now and will be due in December for our returning employees. Now we're going to move to this summative evaluation, which is due towards the end of the year. So when you're using the summative evaluation, you're going to be rating an employee's performance on unsatisfactory, needs improvement, developing, proficient, or distinguished. As you can see, an employee will receive points for each one of those ratings. There's a comment box where you should be giving that specific feedback. And if you look under each standard, there are indicators that describe that standard. You can use those as criteria to help you give that feedback. You can also use, which I will show you on the next slide, the criteria under what needs improvement means and what developing means. You can also look at the wording in that to help guide your comments as well. Once again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to say the more feedback you give that is specific, the more support we can give you if it ever comes back and lands in HR. And I shared with our certified staff and our certified evaluators that there have been a number of times where we've had legal come to us and say, I've got an employee, they're not happy, and we've been able to look at their evaluations, and if the documentation is there and the supporting evidence is there, we can stop a lot of things before it ever moves forward. It's when the documentation and the supporting feedback and the evidence is not there that it moves forward. So you'll be clicking on the rating for each standard, and then that score is going to automatically populate, and I'm going to show you exactly how that looks. Once you click on that, at the bottom there's buttons. You'll see a submit button. You will submit that form. Then the employee will have to go in and acknowledge. And I realize our classified employees, this is very new because it's online. So we went through some growth pains last year, and I sent out directions for you to share with your staff that you could help them understand how to go online, log in, and get to the forms. I have that again. I'll be emailing that out to you again so you can share it electronically or make copies for your staff. But once they acknowledge it, it actually comes back to you and you have to finalize. The reason we do this, because we no longer are going to have paper copies, so it won't be going in their file. By doing the submit, acknowledge, and finalize, I'll show you on a form. It's the paper trail now that we have for legal that shows it went through the system. And any employee with an unsatisfactory performance should receive a disciplinary letter at that appropriate intervention. And once again, you'll go back to the employee relations in human resources, which I said Marilyn Overton and Tyler Morgan. So your summative evaluation rubric. Who last year actually completed the online version in here? So tell me about it. What did you think of it? Was it easy? Was it hard? Was it? My reference that I always use was Marcus Harris said it was a piece of cake. And I always say, if Marcus Harris said it was a piece of cake, it was a piece of cake. So this system, it does it for you. You simply click the box and it populates your score. So that's going to be, if they did it last year, paper pencil, you'll be starting fresh with it online this year. This year we are pushing online. We are really, if you do paper pencil, I'm going to push back and say, thank you, now you have to go enter it online, okay? So, because we really want to move to that system. So, as I said, you simply click the boxes and I'll show you how that works. The score populates here for you, so no adding, no dividing, as in the old form that we had, and it's done for you. Once again, the evaluation key is down here. So unsatisfactory, we're saying that anybody in this box is not meeting expectations a majority of the time, that they have major deficiencies, they have to be, those deficiencies have to be dealt with, they have to show improvement. Needs improvement means that they're not meeting expectations, they have deficiencies, and they have to be eliminated. Down here you'll see this is talking about it's of a serious nature. Here they have deficiencies, they have to be eliminated, not quite to the extent of the unsatisfactory. The developing, you'll see that they're meeting the expectations, but there's still growth that needs to be denoted. Proficiency means they're meeting those expectation levels for performance. Distinguished means they're going to be the leaders in your department. They're going to be the ones that stand out. They're going to be the ones that take over and will just be the role models and be the ones that just stand above and beyond all others. So the goal form. The goal form is what is developed by the employee, and it's actually based off of, or should be based off of, their summative. So once they have their summative and they know where they need to improve in, or if they already have some ideas in mind, then the employee will write their goal form. So it's not like rocket science that you couldn't figure out this would be my goal form. So it's an example of what for you to understand. So the objective is by May 2019, I will increase the KCPS recruiting resources by gaining a deeper knowledge of the recruiting position, continue to build and leverage partnerships, and look for alternatives to the traditional way of finding quality candidates to fill our vacancies. I had 3 action steps I wanted to take, that I wanted to remain on the forefront with recruiting events by researching hiring fairs that are applicable to KCPS needs. I wanted to advance my knowledge base. I wanted to look at more professional development and look at articles or books, and I also wanted to get with colleagues, recruiting colleagues, as we were out on the trail. I also wanted to use social media throughout the recruiting season to highlight KCPS, because with our younger generation, that's where they go, and so we have to look at doing that in order to meet our needs. Support from my manager, which would be Jennifer Collier. My support that I asked for was her to attend those recruiting events that we would hold here and speak on behalf of the recruiting team to the media, also encouraging our principals and our other employees to fill vacancies in that timely manner. So just a recap of information and due dates. The pre-evaluation for 30 days, it's due 30 days from the hire date. It's for all new employees to the district. The 60-day, it's 60 days from the hire date. And it is for new employees or for anybody new to your department or your building.
I have a question.
Yes.
What if the person was never evaluated? So do we follow the 30-60?
So are they new to your department? So that's not on them, but you can go ahead and about October do this mid-year on them and get it in. Mm-hmm. And then the mid-year review for returning employees, and it is due in December. All of these, my learning plan is where they are due. The summative evaluation for our 10.5-month employees due in May, and our 12-month employees due in June. Once again, I'm going to stress that we're using my learning plan We're not paper penciling it this year. And I'm going to stress that we need your list of employees that you will be evaluating. It's Becky Nace and I, so that we can get those in, so that you have your roster and you're ready to go. And so absolutely, if you know, and I will tell you, last year we actually had a very big increase in the number of employees that we evaluated on the classified side. So I would say give yourselves a round of applause, because I appreciate the efforts you put into that. I know we have a long way to go with where we're using our My Learning Plan, but with that, I know that we can get there. And I want to make sure that if you guys have questions, that you don't hesitate to reach out and ask any questions to myself or to Becky. The piece that I want to make sure you understand is how to log in. The one thing I want to make sure you know is My Learning Plan likes Google Chrome. It does not like Internet Explorer. So if you have trouble logging in, make sure you're on Google Chrome. You're going to use your district email, and when I say that, it's going to be kcpublicschools.org. And then you're going to use your first name, your first and last name initials, and the last four of your Social Security. So Becky, can you help me out with this? Some of you will maybe have capital initials. Some of you will have lowercase. So can you explain how that works?
If it's a brand new employee, it's most likely lowercase initials and the last four digits. Don McIntyre wrote a program that uploads directly from Alio to My Learning Plan, and he switched it a couple of years ago, last year actually. So if you're a new employee, within a year or two, it's probably lowercase. If you've been around a long time, it's probably uppercase. Employees can change their password, but we do not encourage it, because many times they change it and then they don't remember what it is. So we just encourage to go with what the district standard is there.
So finding evaluation forms. Once you log into My Learning Plan, across the top you're going to see the Learning Plan and then the District Admin tab. You're going to want to click the District Admin tab for step one, and then over to the left, yours will look something similar to this. Process View is what you want to click, so that once you click Process View, everybody that you evaluate will show up. The next piece I want to show you, if you'll see, you have Admin View and also Detail View. I want to show you what Admin View will do for you. So for those of you that have been through the training, this is going to be a new piece that will hopefully help your life become a little simpler. So when I was telling you, as you start going through the process with everybody, you submit the form and it goes to them and they have to acknowledge. And then for you to know if they've acknowledged it or not, or if you need to finalize or where you're at, you always have to go back in and you have to look and you're like, where am I at? Where do I need to finalize? Or are they still needing to acknowledge? Admin View will become your best friend. I suggest once you start this process, about once a week going into Admin View, because once you do, this wheel will start turning into a pie, is what I would refer to it. Pieces will start to show up. Your legend will be over here. So right now it's telling me that there's a form awaiting acknowledgement. When I clicked here, it pulled down and it showed me which form needed to be acknowledged. So my person here needs to acknowledge their form. There's an email, there's a way for me to click that and email them and say, please acknowledge this form, okay? If this would have said awaiting finalization, and it would have told me over here, I could have clicked it. Down here, it would have pulled up the form, and actually out to the side would have been a little, like a thumbs up. All I would have had to have done is click that thumbs up, and that would have finalized that form. So then I didn't have to go through all of that process view to see where everybody was at. It's just a quick, easy snapshot of where everybody and where all my forms are at that I need to work on. Any questions? Admin View, like I said, once you start working through the process, it will become a good resource for you to go to. So questions? My information, Becky's information, for you to have. And then Becky, can you go in, and she's actually going to pull up, and then if you wanted to,
5-minute break?
yep. While we get this set up, she will, you guys can have a 5-minute break, grab yourselves something to drink. So, my login is 8618 ML, and I don't know if it's capital or lowercase. It must be capital, right? Oh, you know what? He had it pulled up.
I didn't even see it down there.
Oh,
I looked.
there you
Okay,
go.
so you're-
Yeah. M. Landis.
And then your
In-
email,
mhm.
you're probably capital.
Yeah, and 8618.
8618.
Oh, wait, it didn't go. Mhm. I feel like I'm in your way, and I am so sorry. But I'm like, I try to move with the camera then. I'm like, oh. So,
This is Major Stevie Brooks.
I know, Stevie. How are you doing? And hey, congratulations. You're in like a cool role now, man. So
So
awesome.
I was just reminding
Yeah.
him that I was texting him and said, hey, did you know about this train? Because,
Yeah.
you know, last year they kept, at the end, like July, they said, well, did you know that you were supposed to evaluate all those specialists? No. I didn't even know they were under my pad. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad you did. Thank you.
Notify me as well.
Yeah, and I'll put you on that list. So I have to rebuild my list. I had like the list going of everybody that evaluated classified. Now I'm like, oh, gotta redo that. gotta add in.
you sign in.
So there's like a guy on there, like that Abdullah guy, that poor man. I screw with his forms so much, but nobody claims him. I guess I could do Jackie, because I've already told her I might screw with her forms.
Okay.
I probably should do Jackie.
So here's the thing, how are you gonna do that from here though?
I'm not, you're probably gonna have to be in there,
Okay.
like manipulating it.
Okay, so you just tell me what
Yeah, that's like weird, like, yeah. So, because I'm used to like doing that, so. All right.
The other thing, Jackie was asking, does she have to evaluate a part-time employee?
You know what? We should, but, you know, I don't know. What do you think?
I told her to ask you.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Traffic accident right in front of me.
Oh, you know what? I came for 35 because 35 was a disaster.
It was crazy, and I
Yeah.
drove from Kearney, so
Yeah.
I had a big backup around Liberty.
Yeah,
and
so
then the accident right at 210.
Yeah, so I put it in Google Maps every day because, I told my husband, I go, do you know the last almost a week and a half, it has taken me 435 because 35 has been a disaster.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because I come
And they
from
weren't
Liberty.
reporting anything this morning, so I really was like, I left at 7:40. I was like, oh, that's plenty of time.
Yeah, no, it told me, it was like, no, it said, don't even think about going 35. and I left at about 7, a little bit before 7. So I was like, because I come right off of 291 and 35 there. And so, yeah, anyway. Okay, so we're going to go ahead to honor your time. Becky, we're going to try and do this remotely, I guess you would say. Becky's going to manipulate the computer while I tell her kind of where I'm going to go and what I need. Excuse me. So Becky has logged me in, and please know that I see everybody because I have admin rights, and so yours will not look as cluttered as mine looks. So if you will look and see, the district admin tab is up at the top, and then the process view is over here. So Becky, can you type in, we'll do Jackie, and bless her heart, I'm going to use Jacqueline Rogers as my recruiter, and I've told her that I'm going to use her forms for educational purposes, and then I will undo her forms. So it's D, R-O-D. So you can see the classified pre-evaluation conference, the summative, and the goals. If you notice, you have to click on the plus sign to open up the forms. So that's the one piece you have to remember. You won't see the forms until you click on that plus sign. So Becky clicked on the plus sign. Now you're going to go over to where it looks like a piece of paper and click that and open up the form. If you look at the top, it'll show you Jacqueline Rogers. She's a recruiter. She works under Human Resources. She's classified. I've already been manipulating her forms a little bit, so my name is attached to it. And then you can see where I said where it says date submitted. It'll also say acknowledged, date acknowledged, finalized, and date finalized. So Becky, go ahead and just click through some of them so they can just see. It's so simple. You just click, it highlights. You can write comments in for each. You'll also notice each standard has boxes. Those boxes you can click in. They're not meant to be a checklist, but if you have an employee that is really struggling to meet that expectation for punctuality, you click that, you can type something in here. The other time you want to click it is if that person is completely, that they have minimal absences, that they are rarely gone from work, that they are meeting that expectation. You want to click that and then write why you clicked it, that you have missed very few days of work and you're showing that supporting documentation piece.
So you click it if you're going to document.
Right. If you
All if they met everything.
Yeah. And my point is just make sure if you click, you give some type of feedback and comment as to why, so that they understand, so that they know that, you're saying, hey, kudos, or hey, this needs to be improved. So you'll also notice that there is add an artifact. That's something that we haven't talked a lot about in our classified, but it is a piece where you can upload any type of documentation that will support what you are putting into that evaluation piece. So in order to do that, the one piece that has to be completed is this alignment piece. And that section there has to be completed in order to add in. In order to put something in, you'll have to scan it to your desktop and save it, and then upload it as a file down here. And then save it. And then it'll upload it as an artifact, as supporting evidence. So this is the form that you will complete, and then down here, the submit button, you will see. If you still want to continue working on the form and not submit it, you can click save. By saving it, the employee does not see the form. Once you submit it, the employee sees the form. The other piece too is once you submit it, it no longer can be worked on. But in order to work on it again and make it a live form, there will be a button down here that will say edit form, and all you have to do is click edit form and it becomes live again. So at any time you click submit, you're working with the employee, you're talking about this form, the employee says, you know what, you marked me an area of concern, I've got evidence, I don't believe that's right. You have a collaborative conversation, you want to change that, you just simply edit the edit form, make that correction. I would make sure I documented that I did that. and even date it in the form, and then resubmit it. Okay, you can unclick that back. And then let's look at the summative. So you can see this was her pre-evaluation from last year. So can you click the arrow there? It shows it. It populates over. So if there's anything, if it went in last year, if you did anything in the evaluations last year, it will populate over to the summative for this year. So can you go shut those up so I can show this? It'll have to be on all of them. But you can see all you do is click a box, and then why don't you just click the 9, and then we'll show that, how that works. And scroll down. So you can see by doing that, it populates the score and gives her a score. And then once again, on the summative, you have to do recommend for continued employment or recommend for discontinuation of employment. Just because you mark discontinuation of employment does not mean that we will be releasing that employee. The only way we release that employee is if we have all the pieces in place to release that employee. And then of course the comments, and once again, when you are ready, you submit this because the employee does not see this until you submit it. If you're not ready to have the employee see it yet, you click Save. So on the summative, you definitely want to go over this with the employee. A couple of ways that evaluators do this: they will complete this form, and hey, Beck, can you get out of that because it has Jackie's information on it? They will go through the form, click it, save it, invite the employee in, go through it with the employee, and then they will submit it. The other way they do it, they submit it so the employee sees it, then they have the meeting with the employee. If there's changes to be made, that's when they have to go through and edit the form and make the changes. Either way you do it, but the piece that has to be made, and that I stress, this is done in a collaborative setting. So you need to make sure you go over this summative with the employee. The goal form, as I showed you before, this is based off of the summative evaluation, objectives, action steps, and any support required. Keep in mind, you really only want 1 to 3 goals. You want to really focus it. You don't want a whole laundry list. And you go through the same piece, submitting it, acknowledging, and finalizing it back on your plate. One more piece I wanted to show, if you go back to that screen, to the calendar, Becky, over to the right-hand side where it shows there. If you click that, you can schedule a meeting. So if you want to go through and have a summative meeting to go over the summative, you simply click on that calendar and it will send that invite for the meeting. Okay, questions? Yes.
So if you set goals last year and you want to review those, how do you get to what you did last year?
So, Becky, close out of that and then go up to the far right, to the where it looks like paper in the process. Sorry, my pointing way up at the top there. Where's my little, sorry, what are we looking at? Where to look at the goals from last year. Up here, clicking that opens up their goals.
and all their forms from last year. No, go over to the right, sorry. I'm going up where it says next to in progress, there you go. Yep, yes, please. And you can see, so any artifacts, and there's their 2017-18. And if you click back there, Becky, click, there's their information. And their goals up to there. Questions?
And mine isn't either.
It might be because we're still in the rollover process. So once we get the rosters going,
It still says status.
all right. If there are no questions, that concludes our training. Becky, you have anything you want to add? The main pieces, we need rosters of who you are evaluating. That's the big piece. So that we can get those input. Yes.
So when you said we add the people that are new and we take off the people that's on our roster that's old, we submit that to your email?
Mine and Becky Nace.
Yep, okay.
All right, thank you guys for coming.